Right now, in Nairobi courts alone, there are over 13,000 succession cases sitting unresolved. Some of them have been dragging on for over a decade. And here's the part that should scare you a little most of. Those families weren't fighting over mansions in Karen. They were fighting over a 1-acre shamba in Ruaka, a car, and a Sacco account. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how to protect the people you love from becoming one of those statistics. And it's going to take you less time than your last matatu ride to town. Welcome back to No One Taught Me This, the channel where we cover everything school forgot to mention. Today's lesson: why you need a will, even if you don't think you have enough to leave behind. This matters in your 30s, because this is exactly the decade you start accumulating things worth fighting over: a car, a plot, a business, kids, and the one decade most people convince themselves they're still too young to think about it. Let's talk about Otieno, 34 years old, runs a small hardware shop in Ruaka, has a wife, 2 kids, a 1/4-acre plot he's been paying off, and a Sacco account he's proud of. He's not rich, he'd tell you that himself. Otieno dies suddenly of a heart attack. No will, no conversation about who gets what. Within 3 months, his brothers are claiming the plot belongs to the family. His wife is locked out of the Sacco account because she's not listed as a beneficiary, and his kids' school fees are frozen because nobody can touch the assets until the court appoints someone to administer the estate. That process alone can take 1 to 5 years, sometimes longer. This isn't a rare, dramatic story. It's Tuesday in Kenyan succession courts. Under the Law of Succession Act, if you die without a will, the law decides who gets what, in what order, and your family gets to argue about it in front of a magistrate instead of you deciding it in advance, in peace, on your own terms. Number 1. A will is not a rich person document, it's a you have people who depend on you document. Most people assume wills are for people with mansions and matatu fleets. In reality, a will is simply a written instruction for what happens to whatever you own, big or small, and who takes care of whoever depends on you. In Kenya, a valid will doesn't need a fancy lawyer's office. Even a clearly written, signed, and witnessed document can hold up under the Law of Succession Act. For example, Nyeri, a nurse in Nairobi with 1 rented house, a motorbike, and a 5-year-old daughter, wrote a 1-page will, listing her sister as guardian, and naming exactly who gets the motorbike. When she passed unexpectedly, there was zero court drama. Her sister had the daughter in her care within days, not years. This week, write a simple list on paper is fine of everything you own: bank accounts, Sacco, land, car, business, digital assets, and exactly who you want each thing to go to. That list is the skeleton of your will. Number 2. Update the beneficiary and nominee details on every single account you hold. Most Kenyans don't realize that your M-Pesa, your Sacco, your NESF, and your insurance policies usually have a next of kin or beneficiary field, and most people fill it in once during onboarding and never touch it again. If that field is blank, outdated, or lists an ex or parent who's since passed, your money can get stuck in exactly the kind of limbo Otieno's wife faced. For example, a man in Nairobi had his NESF beneficiary form still listing his mother, who had died 8 years earlier, instead of his wife and children. It took the family over a year of paperwork just to get the details corrected before any payout could happen. This week, log into your Sacco, NESF, NIF, or SHA bank and any insurance apps, and check, and if needed, update the beneficiary or next of kin details on each one. Number 3. Tell one trusted person where your will is and make it official. not a secret. A will that nobody can find is almost as useless as no will at all. Beyond that, an unclear or informal will is exactly what triggers the family disputes that clog up the environment and land court and the succession courts for years. The goal is not just to write it, it's to make sure it's discoverable, unambiguous, and hard to contest. For example, a family in Kiambu spent 4 years in court because their late father's will was handwritten on a notebook page undated, and only one person even knew it existed: his younger brother, who conveniently benefited most from it. The lack of witnesses and a clear storage location turned a simple estate into a courtroom saga. This week, tell your spouse, sibling, or closest confidant exactly where your will is stored, and if you haven't already, get it signed by 2 independent witnesses who are not beneficiaries. To keep it airtight, let's lock it in. A will is for anyone with people who depend on them, not just the wealthy. Update the beneficiary details on every account you hold, today, not someday, and make sure your will is clear, witnessed, and easy for your family to find. 3 moves. 0 excuses. If no one taught you this either, you're not behind, you just didn't have the syllabus yet. That's what we're here for. Hit subscribe so you don't miss next week's lesson. We drop a new one every week. Quick question for the comments. Have you had your beneficiary details on M-Pesa, Sacco, or NESF updated in the last 5 years, or are you like most of us, not even sure what's on file?